Hello and welcome to the Climbing Daily Friday Gear Show. Now today we're going to be looking at a potential GriGri killer, the BL Birdie. Now they say that imitation is the highest form of flattery, and in that case, Petzl must be blushing bright red with pleasure. That's right, the BL Birdie is very similar to the Petzl GriGri. In fact, same lowering handle, same method of opening it, and when you open it, same camming device inside, just at a different angle. And like the Petzl GriGri, this is an assisted braking device. Now, you should never let go of the dead rope whilst belaying, but if you did, the device would catch the climber if they fell. That's different from something like, a stitch plate or a normal belay plate, whereas if you let go of the dead rope and the climber falls, then they're going to hit the ground. Now, there's many reasons why you might let go of the dead rope: human error, lack of concentration, being hit on the head by a big rock. But what assisted belay devices mean is it adds an extra level of safety to both the belayer and the climber, so you know that you can climb without any real worries. Although, of course, accidents do still happen, and you should never let go of that brake rope. So what's different about the BL Birdie? The BL Birdie sells for €55 currently on the EpicTV shop. It weighs 210 grams and takes ropes from 8.5mm up to 10.5mm. Compare that to the GriGri. This sells for €63 on the EpicTV shop. It weighs 175 grams and it takes ropes from 8.5 all the way up to 11mm. So very, very similar with a few tweaks in stats. However, worth bearing in mind with those rope diameter stats, you don't really want to be using ropes at the extremes of either spectrum. So nothing down towards 8.5 or up towards 11 or 10.5. They will work and it will be okay, but the experience won't be the same. Those thick ropes will kind of grab and the thin ropes will feel a bit too fast through the system. So although they can take their ropes, I would aim personally for more of a middle ground. Now, the Birdie is made entirely from stainless steel and feels lovely and weighty and heavy in the hand. It just feels very well designed. But weighty is the problem, and it is heavier than the GriGri, but really not by much. And honestly, if you're concerned that much by those couple of grams, then perhaps a device like this isn't really worth it for you. You should look at something like the Black Diamond Pilot, more of a tubular, lightweight device. We need to talk about the price because BL make a big deal about underselling the GriGri, and it is cheaper. It's not hugely cheaper, but that varies on different shops and places, but it is cheaper on the EpicTV shop. So if budget is right at the forefront of your mind, then the Birdie is the way to go. Now, where the Birdie starts to improve and in fact beat the GriGri is the way it gives out slack. And this is a criticism that has long been levelled at the GriGri. It's simply pretty fiddly, especially for beginners to get their head around. When you give slack with the GriGri, normally when the climber's just climbing up, you sort of feed it through the device. The problems come when you try to give a big chunk of slack. So let's say the climber is below a bolt and they're pulling up a big load to clip it, or if they just want a bit more slack than a usual feed, you then have to sort of hook your finger, press your thumb and give out a load of slack. That's because the device of the GriGri locks up a bit too quickly. So if you're feeding it through the normal way and you suddenly want to give loads of slack, it just sort of jams. But the Birdie does that a lot better. It feeds through slack through the device beautifully. It's like smooth like butter. I've got no idea how they've managed to do it, but you can really throw slack into the device and out of the device and it doesn't really lock up. Very similar to the feel of a reverso, but a reverso has got some different issues. So in regards to giving slack, I do think the Birdie at the moment is above the GriGri, and that's a big deal. However, there is a time when you use the Birdie that you do need to give a big chunk of slack a little bit quicker, and you can use a similar thumb method to the GriGri. However, it doesn't have that built-in finger catch. So you can see on the GriGri, there's this little catch there that traps your finger and allows you to kind of wodge it in and then stick your thumb down. That doesn't exist on the Birdie. With the Birdie, you have to grip the device, push down with the thumb slightly, and just a little bit loosen that brake hand rope. It's not a bad problem, and because the Birdie is so smooth, it doesn't really feel like an issue. However, it's not 100% ideal. Perhaps I need to use it a little bit more, or maybe it's just practice makes perfect. Now, if the climber falls, the Birdie behaves exactly as you'd expect it to behave. It assists you in catching the climber. It locks up, trapping the rope in the device and makes it all a little bit easier. Now, this also works when the climber is hauling up a rope. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, when you're dogging a sport route or working a sport route, you tend to work little sections. You do a little bit, you fall off, you reclimb the rope, and your belayer has to work quite hard in that scenario. They have to kind of take up, haul you up a little bit, and the device acts a bit like a sort of progress catcher. So as your climber's hauling up the rope or hauling up the rock a little bit, it traps that progress as they get higher. That's very difficult to do with a normal ATC or stitch plate because it doesn't hold the climber in place as well. Now, the Birdie performs just as well as the GriGri with something like that, and far better than the Reverso that really struggles to lock up under those conditions. Lowering duties are taken care of with this orange handle. Of course, we do sell them in different colors as well. And I like the handle. It feels it's metal again. It feels nice and solid in your hand. And there's a good biting point between the climber being lowered too fast and not fast enough. Personally, I kind of prefer the size of a GriGri handle. There is a real difference if you look at the metal handle compared to that Birdie handle. It is different. Again, takes a bit of getting used to, but this is the newest GriGri and they've redesigned the handle on that. So I like it on the Birdie. I think I prefer it on the Petzl GriGri. Also different with the Birdie is the way the rope feeds through the device itself, especially when lowering. When you lower on a GriGri, you hook the rope over the side of the GriGri. And different GriGris have different methods for this. The Plus has a big metal bit on top to protect this little finger catch. The new GriGri doesn't have it, but it's been reinforced. Now, the problem with that is it can cause kinks in the rope because the rope is kind of running up and sideways as you're lowering, which kind of sort of twists it sometimes. The Birdie gets rid of that by having a more vertical system. So the rope goes through the device, and when you lower, it stays in this little groove here. It doesn't hang out the side. Great in principle. In practice, if you were just to lower normally, so open up the handle, hold on to the dead rope, put the rope through the system, the rope does tend to flop out of the side a little bit. Now, to prevent that, you hook your thumb underneath it, which keeps the whole device a bit straighter and keeps the rope in this little channel. It's a good little solution. I don't think it's perfect yet, because the problem is the rope kind of appears on the bottom. Sometimes you kind of burn your thumb on it a little bit, and it is a bit awkward to hook that thumb over. But I like the fact it doesn't hook the rope, and with practice, that sort of little method doesn't feel weird at all, just feels perfectly normal. Again, it's just getting used to it, moving away from the GriGri. So what do I think of this little metal baby? Well, first of all, I haven't had a huge amount of time with this device. I have been out using it, but I haven't put in the same hours that I have on a GriGri. So this is more of a sort of first impressions unboxing style of review. It's the giving of slack of the Birdie that makes it almost, well, potentially a GriGri killer. It's incredible how much you can just chuck slack at the climber and the device doesn't lock up. But the second it needs to lock up, bang, it's there, reliable, waiting for you. I've got used to it on the GriGri. I don't mind it. I use it every time I go sport climbing pretty much. That system of hooking the finger, pushing the thumb, giving a bunch of slack, it's easy. But it's also easy to lose concentration. And we've all been there when your climbers on a cruxy section, you've slightly lost concentration and you short rope them a little bit. It's annoying for the climber, it's annoying for you as a belayer, and it makes you look like a tit. But with the Birdie, that isn't really gonna happen. You need to focus exactly the same way, but you can throw it out better. And of course, that thumb method still works if you need to give a bunch of slack. The all metal design, I'm on the fence with, to be honest. When I initially picked it up, I didn't really like the feel of it. It just felt a bit clunky, but the more I use it, it feels good in your hand. It's like this premium device. It's all soft and smooth and metal and lovely, and I can't quite describe why I like it, but somehow, weirdly, I do. You're either gonna love or hate the metal design, so it might be worth picking it up and having a feel to see what you think. I don't think the weight difference is a problem. There's really nothing to it. But the price thing is interesting, because at the end of the day, this is basically a GriGri, but cheaper. It's kind of a no-brainer, isn't it? I mean, if you haven't got a GriGri, surely this is the one you should go for. Lowering, yeah, it's pretty good. It works fine. I think it needs to be tweaked for the next model, but I honestly think it's just a case of practice makes perfect. And there's so many devices that when you first start to use them, you're like, oh, I hate this. And then very quickly it becomes second nature. So no problem for me with the Birdie, and I like the non-kinking thing. So the big question is, should you buy one? Well, if you've already got a GriGri and you're not looking to upgrade and it's not broken, then I'd say no. Stick with your GriGri, it works absolutely fine. And also, if you're looking for the extra features that some GriGris offer, the extra safety features, the extended lever, the top roping modes that you get on a GriGri Plus, well, the Birdie can't compete with that, nor does it want to compete with that. It's a different thing. If you're a beginner or an instructor and you're looking for the GriGri Plus, just buy the GriGri Plus. However, if you're new to this assisted device world, or if you're looking for a replacement to your GriGri that's been broken or lost, then I really don't see why you wouldn't get the Birdie. It's cheaper, it's better at slack, and it's got this lovely metal design. Absolute winner for me. I do need to use this more, and this is quite a new device, so if you guys have been using it out there in the real world for months and months on end, then do let me know in the comments below. But for me, this might actually go in my bag. Thank you very much, BL. I'll see you soon.